Hey, good day. So today I am just showing you what it's like a day in the life of the Real Housewife of SVG. So the first thing I did was get the children organized with their schoolwork, but the board was a bit dirty from a lecture that I had over the weekend, but I had some help cleaning it. Yes, that's my little helper in her little undies there. She's potty training, not even a year yet, walking and potty training. So beautiful being her mom and the mom of my other two lovely children. So in the meantime, I had my 3 beans soaking. So these are just 3 beans that I had soaking. And I started getting my flour prepped and ready for my seitan. So if you don't know what is seitan is like chunks. It's a protein made from a grain. So chunks and tofu is made from soya bean, while seitan is made from wheat flour. So in the flour mix, I just have a bit of salt and flour and water. Now you'd realize that I'm adding a bit of water, just sprinkling it, and that's because I don't want the dough to get too wet. I don't want it to get too soggy. I really want it to be very tight. If I put too much water in it, I'll end up with a different texture. It'll be more of a spongy texture. I'll give you an example of what texture that is. So if you've ever had lung, yes, I love organ meat. So if you've ever had lung, yes, if you mix your seitan a bit too soft and soggy, your texture will be like lung. So if you like lung texture, you can go ahead. But I wanted this texture to be more like chicken because it's actually like a chicken breast that I'm making. So I am kneading it very, very tight, and I am limiting the water that I am using. Yes, so I'm kneading it very tight, and I'm gonna leave it to sit a while, and this way the protein will start pulling. Now the best way to make this seitan is with a little bit of soy sauce and a little bit of bruised yeast if you have that, but right now the budget is tight and those organic sort of stuff are very, very expensive. So we're just gonna need it minimal. I'm showing you just water, flour, and a bit of salt. No soy sauce, no bruised yeast. But if you have that, please don't be afraid to chuck that in right there. The bruised yeast may get washed away at this stage, a little bit of it, but at least the vitamin B will still be in it. So I left my dough to rise a little. You realize it's very soft, but at the same time it's very tight. It's given a bit of resistance and it's very smooth, which tells me that the gluten has pulled and it is ready for washing. So I placed it in a pot of water. You're just looking at this large dough in a pot of water, and I am just massaging it gently in the water so I can get the starch to loosen from the gluten and start washing away in the water. So yes, I'm washing the starch from the flour, so I'll be eating just the protein, the gluten in the seitan, because much of the starch is going to be washed out. Now I don't want you to think that I'm washing out the carbohydrates. I cannot wash out the carbohydrates. This is a carbohydrate, and anything with fibers is basically carbohydrates, but I am rinsing as much of the starch as possible. So the water continues to get very cloudy, and as it gets cloudy, I'm just gently washing the dough. So yes, if you've never seen someone wash flour, it is very possible, and I am rinsing the starch out of the dough. It's a very tedious process, but it's a very good alternative, meat alternative, for those who wish to eat vegan, or those who are on a budget, or those who are waiting for the chickens to mature so that they can slaughter. You can go ahead and have this beautiful dish prepared at a low budget. There we have the dough. The dough is getting very, very slippery, but it is still holding together, which shows that I left it long enough for the gluten to pull, and I did not put a lot of water in it, so it's staying together. And I'm just continuously rinsing the dough. Now I'm throwing the water a lot, and that's particularly because I don't like having the starch in there to rolling around too much, because I actually like to see the dough what I'm doing. So as I continue washing and squeezing, here is the dough. It's very spongy at this point, and it has a meat-like texture already, but I'm gonna continue washing it and kneading it and tying it together. So I didn't get the footage of me tying it together, but I tied it together. I stretched it, tied it, stretched it, tied it until I couldn't stretch it and tie it anymore. And this is how I ended up with my chicken breast seitan. No, it's not chicken, and no, it's not a breast. It is just flour that has been washed of starch, so the gluten remains, and this is seitan. So now I'm gonna boil it. The perfect way to do this is to boil it in a banana leaf, but I didn't have the time to go picking banana leaves, so I just boiled it, drained it, and then I diced it just like I would tofu or any other vegetarian meat substitute. Now I put my coconut oil in the saucepan and I left it to get a little hot. Now I am going to saute the the seitan bits that I have there, the little seitan squares, much like I would chicken breast. Now I didn't season it a lot, and I don't really like seasoning it a lot in this stage, because the oil tends to, get the seasonings all dirty, I guess, when you burn the oil and the seasoning flakes. Now the reason why I'm not wetting the seitan to give it a wet season, it's because when you wet season it before it is like fully dried, you may not end up with the texture that you want. So now that it is finished getting brown and getting a little crispy around the edge, I can then go ahead and start adding other seasonings that I want to saute. But I kind of did a lazy approach. I did my 3-bean soup in the form of like a stock. So that's my 3-bean soup behind the stove, the burner there. And my 3-bean soup, I seasoned it with all the flavors that I wanted: a bit of lemongrass, some turmeric, a bit of onion, garlic, carrots, celery, everything, peppers, everything is already in the 3-bean soup that I have there. So I'm using the 3-bean soup as both my stock and also as my beans. So I'm gonna make sure that I have beans with this meal, because remember, we are not doing meat, and when you're doing a meat substitute, it is best when you mix a green with a bean and a little bit of nuts or fats if you have. So in this bean, I have some walnuts to add a bit of fat and flavor, and I have my 3 beans and some coconut milk, and I've sauteed the seitan in coconut oil. So I have fats, oils, and both plant proteins from grains, legumes, as well as nuts. So my seitan is fully fortified with all the proteins that I need. So we're gonna move on to dishing. So this is Marshall's plate right here. So I just did it with a bit of rice, nothing too extravagant. And I'm giving him some beans from my bean stock. Now this bean stock can be used for dinner. I can drink the sauce for dinner as a light meal. Instead of having porridges for dinner, you can have the soup for dinner. And you don't have to eat the bean. But if you're feeling for something a little heavy to keep you full, you have the options of the beans. And that's generally how I prepare. I'll always do a stock to go along with whatever I'm doing. This is the final product: my 3-bean side with my chicken breast seitan sauteed and white rice. And this is what I had for lunch. So for those of you who want a nice chicken flavor, and I'm not saying that anything is wrong with using a different type of stock, because had I had beef bones, I would have definitely made a beef bone stock to go with the seitan, because it tastes like beef. So if you use chicken stock, you use goat stock, any stock you use, it's gonna taste like whatever stock you use. Using vegetable stock, it tastes just like if you're sauteing a nice caldo soup or something with some chicken breast. And it's delicious. The texture, as you can see, is very chewy, much like chicken. and this is my one meal that I have for the day, because you know I am into intermittent fasting, and this is about I would say about 800-900 calories, which is still within my calorie